Medical. We've got one wounded at my location. Millie.
Oh, man.
We'll see you at sickbay.
Status report.
The repair crew made it inside. EPS flow is back to nominal levels. The SIF is back up.
How does this affect mission readiness, Mr. Ermot?
Releasing the docking clamps using hull polarity minimized damage to the Resolute. We'll have some last-minute repairs to make, but if we reapportion some of the staff, we can make our departure on time. As of now, however, we are successfully moored to the station.
Good to hear. Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydek, with me. You disobeyed my orders. Well?
I shouldn't have gone against your orders, sir.
You can't unring that bell. Especially when you do it, not just in front of the bridge crew, but while I was in front of the Starbase staff. That's going to get around. My name's already tarnished around the fleet. But what is it going to do to my credibility on this ship? From the top to the bottom. Bridge to lower decks.
I understand, sir. It won't happen again.
I should hope not. You might have won some fans on the bridge with that stunt, but not everyone. Lieutenant Commander Chovak has already bent my ear.
I'm sure he doesn't take it personally. He'll get over it in time.
Mr. Chovak is more complicated than he would want to admit. I guess we all are. And, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what I would have done in the moment either. You never really know if you weren't in those shoes. So, let's just boil it down to you did what you had to. That'll have to be good enough for me.
Thank you for understanding, sir. I'm sure no one knows the burden of command as well as you do.
I'm sure you will, someday. Despite it all, we got our final Starfleet clearance to depart. So if you'll fetch Mr. Ermot, we'll knock out the final details of any outstanding repairs, and then we'll set out for Hotari.
Yes, sir. All departments reporting full mission readiness. All departments reporting full mission readiness.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new mission is always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit. Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
Docking clamps released.
Thrusters ahead, Mr. Handar. Set a course for the Otari system. Prepare to go to Warp 8.
Aye, Captain.
You know what? You take this one.
Me? Engage.
Simple, but effective.
Whoa. Careful.
Thank you. I'm fine. Really,
You don't look fine.
I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Commander, help me get her inside!
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on her, but she'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your duridium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer. To be honest, I've never met a Kobliad before. You're...
Rare. I know.
I was going to say special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the duridium you need to survive. Yet you joined Starfleet, and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
I don't like the attention it brings. Being treated differently than everyone else.
But you are different. That's not something you can change.
True. But sometimes it makes it even more difficult than it already is.
And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to admit. He's overstressed, operating in the pressure cooker of his own mind. Which is never a good headspace when the lives of your crew are at stake. What concerns me is that now he's even further away from the thing he's been chasing his entire career. The breakthrough discovery. The major innovation. Something he can put his name on. But the more the time passes and the further out of reach it gets, the more risk he'll be willing to take.
We all have to chase our dreams, don't we? We need to take some risks. Isn't that why we joined Starfleet?
But not at the expense of other people's lives. It's too high a price to pay. And I have to give you credit for what happened on the bridge. It took guts to defy a direct order.
Huh. I guess word travels fast around here.
It's a small ship. And everyone's curious about the new XO. Fortunately, your cell structure's almost completely stabilized. And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Understood.
Then, my work here is done.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be lurking outside of sickbay. I didn't want to intrude, so it felt more appropriate to wait out here. We were all worried about you. Or I should say I was. I wasn't sure what was happening at first. But then I realized it was your condition.
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. It's just part of who I am.
Well, being a jerk sometimes is part of who I am. So, I'm sorry for that. You trusted my intuition earlier, with the deflector pulse. I felt I should thank you for that.
Well, thank you for coming. Even though you didn't have to.
I wanted to.
Complete the diagnostic sequence, and this shuttle will be cleared for service.
Yes, sir.
Storm in the Hotari region will interfere with our transporters, so we need all available shuttlecraft in working order.
Excuse me, Commander Turlock.
Petty Officer Maris, I will leave you to your work.
I stopped by sickbay and saw Nilly. I figured you'd want to know.
Did the doc get her fixed up?
She's stable. But there's something about the storm's radiation that's making it hard to heal the energy burns.
That doesn't sound good.
She's toughing it out. Dr. Duval said she'll be back on duty soon, though.
Come on. I have to run the final diagnostic.
I can't stay long. I've got a long to-do list before we get to Hotari, and things are piling on faster than I can check them off. We're making all our last-minute checks and security, too. Tactical and security are short-staffed.
Hey, you don't have to keep me company. If you got things to do, go do them.
No. I'm here because of my to-do list.
Oh?
There are some things that never seem to have the right time. So why not now? I had a chance to think about this while I was away. Then you and Nilly almost got killed out on the hull. And I thought it was important that I just come out and tell you. Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse.
This is just a guess, but you like me. Is that what this is?
How'd you know? Must have been pretty obvious. Which is funny because kinda came out of nowhere for me at first.
You didn't exactly hide it.
I wasn't exactly trying to hide it. But since it's that obvious, we've been really good friends for a long time. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is? If it's there for you, and it's there for me, why not give it a try?
Are you kidding me? I just said yes.
I wanted to be sure I heard that right.
These are uncharted territories.
I'd call it a chemistry experiment. You know, with us.
I'm just really glad that you said something.
I've seen how you operate. I couldn't wait for you to make the first move. I'm glad too.
So whatever happens next is great with me.
Level 1 diagnostic complete.
I have to get back to that to-do list. They're probably looking for me.
Can't blame them.
I'll be seeing you.
approaching the rendezvous point outside Atari space.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Ionic interference surging, Captain.
Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydek, find us our diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain. Let's reduce the noise. Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types. I've located the shuttle.
Opening comms.
On screen.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer.
It won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
Come on, Diaz. First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation. We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it. Gonna take out the shuttle. There's the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Commander Rydek, plot an intercept course.
On it. Here we go. Maneuvering thrusters bearing 53 Mark 17, 200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Got it.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge. Got the shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
Terra firma, so to speak.
Ambassador Spock. The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Apologies for the landing, Ambassador. I was operating the tractor beam, sir. I take responsibility.
It was not the smoothest transit, but you got us here safely. That is what matters. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all, even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
I'd rather investigate than speculate.
A sound principle.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical. Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock.
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind. Ambassador Spock, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. Not the most diplomatic choice of words.
You are a legend, Ambassador. There's not an officer in Starfleet that doesn't know of your career.
I would never assume that to be the case.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details. We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Elydia and Hotari. Elydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Elydians have shared a mining operation there. The Elydians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Elydians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
How is it the Hotari were able to turn the tables and take the mines against superior forces, especially after decades in this arrangement?
Unclear. The answer to that question may be the key to a new, lasting peace, and one that I hope we can uncover during these negotiations. But it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Elydian fleet if this escalates to open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hatari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
If we could convince them, it would restore the peace. But we would need the Hatari to accept a difficult compromise.
Made all the more difficult by the emotions flaring on both sides, no doubt.
Neither the Illidians or the Hatari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Illidians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
We could use that as leverage with the Illidians. They'll want the Federation to continue buying from them.
There might be something to that, Commander.
Putting that on the table could make the Hotari more hostile.
Given the Federation's involvement in the Illidium dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the Ion Storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Illidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Illidians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly knows how to say the right things. At least when she wants to. It would be unconventional.
I'm perfectly happy to work outside the lines.
And by extension, you will be doing your duty, Commander.
Just not too far outside the lines. Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments. But I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with. I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
When you look at it logically, yes, it is just a shuttle. No different than any of the others.
There is plenty that is different about it, and that is what you are to investigate. But please limit your findings to observable scientific phenomena.
We'll try to restrain ourselves.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
One nice thing about Vulcans. Chovak is the only person who didn't look at this and treat me like I was something to pity. Doc says I should get used to it. Doesn't mean I want to be reminded of it every minute of the day.
Hey, you won't get pity from me. I think it makes you look tough. As tough as you really are, that is.
And that makes you sound pretty smart. I might need you to save me from myself next time, though. Come on. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Ready to go?
All set. Let's run the diagnostic. So, I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me.
That's not gonna happen, okay? And why are you even going there? We haven't even gone on a date yet.
I just want you to know where I stand. I like my friends and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done yet?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something. Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Makes me think the computer panicked on the warp field equation.
Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes, ma'am.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil. I checked every coil on the port nacelle for imbalances. If any coil in either engine were cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
Come on, I'm never too busy to make time for you.
That's not true.
No. But I am glad you came by.
No, that's more accurate.
I gotta be precise with you, huh?
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
You don't want to miss your train.
I do have to go. Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save some of that for when I get back.
You got a deal.
Be seeing you.
Salar de Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it. Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Warp pressure is destabilized. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapsed. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Bingo.
What?
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you have come. My name is Tylos Altaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours, and this is Commander Jara Rydick, first officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Lydians.
We are honored to be here as representatives of the Federation.
I'm so glad.
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation. The reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But, either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Sidron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Let's hope this is the last time we ever have to come here.
If you'll excuse me.
I think we're about to begin.
Did you hear the arrogance from that guy? I don't know what we're walking into here, but that guy was something.
That may be true. But let's keep an open mind going into the negotiations. Hopefully he's just one voice amongst many.
Then let's hope he's the outlier.
The Hotari have invited us as their guests, so we must show them the proper respect.
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Hotari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but a recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation and their ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Elydian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war!
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced. But his point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
I'm trying to keep an open mind here, but it's not easy. I thought they wanted us here.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliad?
She's not part
She
of...
can speak for herself, can't she? Then let her. Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliad, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliad is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable. Not unlike how we have been treated by the Elydians.
As much as they'd have you believe they are the victims here, remember it was the Hotari who attacked us. Hundreds of innocent Elydians were slaughtered without mercy in those mines.
The blood is on their hands, not ours!
Quiet! If after all the Kobliad suffered, you finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control, would you take it? Or would you negotiate a peace?
There is no remedy for what the Kobliad suffered. And I fear who we might have become in pursuit of it. There is no justice if the oppressed become the oppressor. So I would willingly accept a peaceful resolution if it were offered. That is the real opportunity.
Perhaps, Commander Rydak. Perhaps. Unfortunately, that was not the case, was it?
No, it was not.
Peace is often elusive to those who need it most. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth, not your Federation rhetoric.
As Ambassador Spock has said, we've come seeking a peaceful resolution to this conflict, and have no interest in your dilithium.
I'm not nearly as naive as you must think. The Federation has done business with the Illidians for decades, which makes me question your motives.
What they haven't said, but cannot deny, is a simple truth. The dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Illidian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone, especially the Hotari. We've given them warp technology. We've let them share in the profits. We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies! The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. So tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau? Who should the Federation recognize? The Hotari or the Illidians? It can only be one or the other, not both.
If there can only be one, then it would be in the best interest of all involved if the Illidians resumed operation of the mine.
And that is why we should not trust our fate to the Federation.
She speaks sense. You do well to listen to her.
And you do well to hold your tongue.
We will take back our minds by any means necessary.
And you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
I would agree, Ambassador Spock. I think this is best left to those of us with more experience in diplomatic matters.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
Such rough terrain. No wonder the Hotari are so tough.
Commander, after hearing so much about the Federation's sense of fairness and justice, I was surprised that you sided with the Illidians. In all honesty, I expected more, especially from someone like you.
To be clear, I'm not on either side of this conflict. Our only interest is peace.
On the Illidians' terms, apparently.
I assume you were there, the day the mines were seized from the Illidians.
Not seized. Reclaimed. And restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive, before the Illidians could even realize their worst nightmares upon them.
I'm curious why the Illidians haven't fought back. They have the ability to retake the mines anytime they want.
Ability is one thing. Courage is another. The Illidians know any hostile action on their part will not end well. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Illidians might have in store. Or is that not true? Maybe I've misjudged it.
I wouldn't say state-of-the-art, but the Resolute is plenty capable and can hold its own against just about anything.
Let's hope so. Because at the moment, it's the only thing preventing them from wiping us off the map.
Cedron.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
Soothing.